it's a multi-purpose facility, which means, for example, you can also host concerts in the stadium as it used to be, but today will be even more also thinking about having a company or someone else to come on board and do the management of the facility. The goal of refurbishment of the stadium is mostly more that government of Rwanda wants to position ourselves as a sport hub. And for you to position yourself as a sport hub, you really need to invest in infrastructure, and not only for the stadium, for football, but in other disciplines. The mindset used to be, I'm just playing as
for fun.
I'm just playing as an amateur. But today they are looking at how can I use this opportunity now to become a professional.
Hello there. My guest this week on the Long Form podcast is the Minister of Sports, Aurore Mimosa Munyangaju. We'll be discussing the business of sports and Rwanda's goal of becoming home to world-class sports infrastructure. I will pose to her the question, is everything Rwanda is doing make financial sense? Hello there. Before we dive into today's conversation, have you subscribed to our channel yet? If you haven't, do so. And remember to share your thoughts with us in the comments below and like this video. Your support means a lot. Now let's get into it. Minister Mimosa?
Yes.
Welcome to the Long Form.
Thank you.
So, before we start, going into the serious stuff of, sports infrastructures and business plans, I want to know a little bit more about you. One, did you ever play sports? Were you a sportswoman at any time in the past?
What do you think?
I have no idea. Because I've done my research. I saw that you were, banks, insurance companies. Did you maybe play any sports? You're very tall.
Yes, I did. I played, I started with volleyball, but I ended up in basketball. But of course, as a normal kid, every kid starts with football. But I won't say football too much because, I played basketball.
Did you play at a high level, would you say?
Yeah, I did. I played a national team.
Really?
Yes.
What year was that?
You don't trust me.
No,
it was a long time ago. It was a
Yeah.
long time ago. But I played at the university, secondary schools. Yeah. But I did play too much basketball.
What year was that? Do you remember? 2000?
No, before that.
Oh, really?
Yes.
In the 90s?
Yes.
Was the team any good?
Yes.
Okay, interesting. What position did you play?
Pivot.
Pivot. That's what. Pivot would be what? Center.
Pivot.
Center. Oh. How many times? Do you remember how many times you played for the national team?
No, most of the time I was playing for national team. Yes, because at our time, we were playing for secondary school. Even while playing at secondary school, we used to be selected to go and play for national team, and then you come back to your school's team.
Okay, that's really interesting. I had no idea that beyond being, a political leader of sports, you'd actually played. Yeah, that's really interesting. So you played for the national team in the 90s.
Yes.
And then you went for university. Where did you do your university? I
did university in Butare. I played while I was in Butare and in Kigali as well. And up to that time, that's where I was no longer interested in it.
Oh, so when you were in Butare, what year was that? Do you remember?
Yeah, basically, when I played, I didn't play volleyball while I was at university. I played volleyball when I was in secondary school. At that time, it was volleyball and basketball. And then I ended up in basketball because I was more interested in basketball. And then it was in Burundi. I was playing for a club, one of the club, while I was very young. And then when I joined, when I came back to Rwanda, I continued playing basketball. I didn't play volleyball while in Rwanda, so I played only basketball for the secondary school, university, and then that's it. I was just joining the national team at that time. It was before 2000.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay, that's really cool. Now that we've kind of got a better sense of, you know, your sports, I'd like to really get into this week's conversation.
Yes.
Which is really about answering the question: is what Rwanda is doing, does it make financial sense? But before I get into that, let me ask. You came from banking, and then before that, no, first you were in banking, then you became the CEO of Sonarwa.
Yes.
And then in 2019, you were appointed as Minister of Sports. Now, for the last 5 years, you've been heading sports in Rwanda. What has that experience been like?
Yeah, growing up in a sport family, and again growing up as an athlete through my youth. The transition from the private sector to the Ministry of Sports has been smooth, and of course with some challenges, but in a positive manner. And again, the opportunity to be part of the growth, specifically in sport, has been a great privilege for me as Mimosa, and and it's something that I don't take for granted.
Yeah.
Yes.
Are there any specific challenges that you remember thinking, okay, I've come from, you know, with these kind of big companies like Sonarwa, you know, they have systems in place, you have big teams, banks are also everything is, there are rules and regulations, and, you know, things are almost straightforward. I can imagine now you're coming from that straight into administrations, politics, and the politics of sports. Did you not find it sometimes challenging coming from a place that was very easy to manage, I think, to things that are a bit more complex?
Yeah, of course, challenges, you cannot say you don't have challenges or you didn't get challenges. First of all, coming from the private sector, you first think, okay, I'm being appointed as a minister. It's a great privilege to be part of the team. And again, you also think, okay, what am I going to do as a minister? Because you don't know exactly what you're going to do. Yeah, you get to know it when you have joined, you know. Basically, that's the challenge. But one, you have joined, there's a team there, and you see people are there to help, and everybody is there to help and support. So then it becomes a little bit smoother. And again, because as I said, as I've been an athlete and becoming from a sports environment, it was easy, again, to use my experience from the private sector to be able to implement the implementation of the policy, the sport policy, was not really that, you know, it was easy somehow with all those challenges I'm talking about. First days are not usually so easy.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yes.
But now it's been 5 years. I think things are now quite smooth.
Yeah.
Great. Now, take me into I think a lot of people are curious about, you know, our leaders. What do they do? But I think it would be really interesting if you could help us kind of understand, okay, on a usual day for Minister Mimosa, what does that look like?
Interesting. The usual day, you look like a normal day. Of course, all the days are not Sundays or Saturdays.
Yes.
But usually the day before, I already have my to-do list of the next day. And especially on Mondays, we do have senior management meetings. I'm a morning person. Yeah. So most of the time, I don't take my breakfast, depending on why.
As an athlete, isn't that dangerous?
I'm no longer an athlete. Yes. Basically, because I'm also a mom. So sometimes in the morning I take care of my children.
Yeah. Yes. So you get to the office. What you get to the office around?
Usually around 8:30. Yeah. So
And
when I
then-
take my kid to the school, and then from the school straight to the office. Basically, depending on she's a more, how can I say it?
Depending on the day.
No. How do I say it? Caprice.
That's French. I think you'd be. How do you say caprice? What would that be in Kinyarwanda?
Amategeko. I don't
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay.
How can you say it?
I don't know. That's you've stumped me. I don't know how you would say that.
Rules? No, not rules.
Because the rules are that people are supposed to be at work at 9 o'clock.
No, it's not that. I mean, sometimes the youngest can come and say, it's been a while, 1 week or 2 weeks. Today I want you
to take me to school.
To take me to school.
Yeah.
Then I have to do it. When I do it, then it means I'm already I'm at the office around 8:30.
Yes. Because then they make you get there super early.
Yes.
Okay. I get it. And so then a bunch of meetings. Are you the kind of person who, once you get to the office, the first thing you do is, look at newspapers? Are you watching sports channels? Do you have ESPN and?
Early morning, yes, I do. I do watch some channels, especially sports channels. And again, at the same time, I go through the emails, because most of the time you have those emails coming during night, and then you didn't get time to go through them, and then you go through the emails, 9. And because I said I prepare my day the day before, I already know how my day will look like. So I know when I have my meeting, what time, because I'm a person who likes really to be on time, especially for the meetings.
Yes.
So, yeah.
So I'm trying to hear when you give yourself space for sports or exercise. Are you the kind of person who does exercise every day? Are you just so busy?
Not every day.
Yeah.
Yes, not every day, but like 3 times a week. Yeah, I do walk, especially when I didn't get time to do it early morning. Basically, these days, since I have joined the Ministry of Sport, I'm no longer doing my sport in early morning. I used to do it early morning, 6, 5:30, but now it's no longer possible, because depending on when, depending on when the day before I went to bed, if I can say like that. So most of the time, I do walk after work. Yeah, around 7, around 8. Yeah, sometimes I go home walking. Yeah, I walk up to home.
No, is that a long distance? I don't know where you stay.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, and do you do anything else? Like, do you go to the gym and do you lift weights? Do you go to aerobic classes? Do you still play basketball? Do you still?
Yeah, I still play basketball when I get a chance and when I get time, especially with my family.
Yes.
Yes, we do. Yeah, some teams. Yes, my family, my brothers and sisters and their kids. Yeah, we go somewhere, then we do a proper
game.
A proper game.
That's
fantastic. The
fantastic.
elders versus
the youngsters.
The youngsters.
Yeah. Okay,
And we beat them.
Oh, wow, you don't even let them win.
No,
They're
we
very
beat
competitive.
them. We just want to show them that we've been there.
I
Don't
mean,
joke with that.
oh, so interesting. So, like I said earlier, you're a former banker, so at EcoBank Equity. So, you know how to differentiate between an asset and a liability, right? You know how to read a balance sheet. So, in that sense, let's talk about Amahoro Stadium. It's been rebuilt at a cost of around $160 million. So that's a lot of money. And people will say that, that is money that could have been spent on other things that are schools, roads, clinics. That's what some people say. Because when you think about some of these national stadiums across Africa, they are what some people call white elephants, right? So they're there, they become this thing that has been built just for prestige, but it has no value after an African Cup of Nations or All Africa Games, and it just gets spoiled. I'd like to ask you, again, looking at your financial background, how do we make sure that this beautiful 40,000-seater Stade Amahoro continues being a beautiful asset and not a terrible liability for...
Yeah, so the country's sport policy doesn't not only focus on sport development, it also focuses on infrastructure, as you're saying. And having Amahoro Stadium as a huge investment, I agree with you, it's been a huge investment that government has made. But again, government also think about a return on investment for that facility, and also focusing on different areas, using the facility for our athletes who are competing outside the country, because most of the time you want to have an infrastructure with the standard, which goes with the standards. That's one. Number two, we also say, how can we make sure that we host those kind of competitions that can be hosted in Rwanda instead of our team going outside? Because at the end of the day, when you look at the expenses and the cost of our national team going competing outside the country, it's almost the same as when you are hosting the money that you spend in your team, preparing the team, and your team going outside, hotel, flight, all those, when you do a total of it, the cost of it is most likely almost the same when you are hosting the big competition.
Really? No, it sounds interesting.
Yes, because you think also, how much do I spend? Because at the end of the day, if you don't host, somebody else will host.
Yes.
Which means if somebody else hosts, you will be part of the competition. You will have to compete to go there. And when you go there, it's better that you host the competition, you invest in infrastructure, at the same time, you work on that kind of return on investment you're talking about. Yeah.
And how about, I heard that the stadium would be not just a sports stadium, it's like a multi-use stadium that has many different things.
Exactly. It's a multi-purpose stadium, which means it can, it's not only for football, it also have a running track for athleticism. And again, in the same project, we also have the Petit Stade that has been renovated as well. And you also have Paralympic gymnasium that has been renovated as well. But in the same project, we do, those are indoor facilities, but we also, as government, thought about outdoor facilities. Yeah, that one will also help to have access, for the community to have access to those outdoor facilities.
So there's more, because there are all those facilities, even people will use the space more.
Exactly.
And it won't be wasted. It won't be...
It won't be wasted because it's a multi-purpose facility, which means, for example, you can also host concerts in the stadium as it used to be, but today will be even more also thinking about having a company or someone else to come on board and do the management of the facility to make it use, so that you get the return on investment on what, not only for the sport facilities, but you also have like 22 sky boxes, which means though you don't have a competition right now, but you have other facilities around the stadium that will be used to make money. For example, you will be having restaurants, you will be having those sky boxes, you will be having like a very big conference room, so that you don't really use it only for the for sport. It can be used for other events.
So I guess the plan is to have it being constantly used, right? So even if there's not a game, there's something else happening. That's really cool. And you think that because of its constant use, it will be a net benefit for the community?
Yes, it will. Definitely, when as the government of Rwanda, you are investing in such kind of investments, such kind of facility like Amahoro Stadium, you also think about the whole ecosystem. For example, if you are hosting an international competition, there is also thinking about how many hotels do we have? What about the private sector? It's not only an investment that government has made, but also a return on investment can come directly to government or through the private sector, which means it's the whole economy, it's the whole ecosystem. So basically, what about if I'm hosting the AFCON, as you're saying, I wish it's something that will happen for us as Rwanda or as a government. But again, what will happen with the private sector? How many hotels? Do we have 5-star? How many 5-star hotel do we have? How many 4-star hotel do we have? So what about the restaurants? What about the whole ecosystem? So that money means these people, if they are coming to Rwanda, they will spend money. So that money will not spend directly through ticketing in entering, watching a game, but again, they will spend money even before the game or after the game.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's kind of a return on investment we are seeing more in the overall economy of the country.
So it's more about ecosystem, building an ecosystem. And I think, personally, I think we've been somewhat successful, because if you actually look at, for example, there's this new hotel that's being built. I think it's called Ujiri. Is it Ujiri Courts? Ujiri Courts. That's, I think, owned by Masai Ujiri. And they're building a very nice accommodation, restaurants, amazing space right there. And I think we're already starting to see...
sport facility as
yes,
well.
I think we're starting to see that there is that building of those ecosystems, even in that space.
Exact.
It's very exciting. So there's a lot of talk, I've been reading in a lot of news media, that not only is government refurbishing Stade Amahoro, but we're also going to either rebuild or refurbish some of the stadiums across the country in places like Musanze, Gicumbi, Rubavu, and I think there's Nyagatare, and I've heard something about Muhanga as well, but that's really interesting because, and I've heard that all of them will be at CAF level, CAF standards, does that mean that in the next couple of years, because according to CAF, you should have at least 6 stadiums, right, to be able to bid for a CAF finals. An AFCON finals, yes. So if we're going to do all these things, does it mean that Rwanda will bid for the African Cup of Nations finals in the next decade or so? Do you think that that's possible?
Why not?
I don't know. You tell me. Why not? What would we need to do?
The goal of refurbishment of the stadium is mostly more that government of Rwanda wants to position ourselves as a sport hub. And for you to position yourself as a sport hub, you really need to invest in infrastructure, and not only for the stadium, for football, but in other disciplines.
So you've talked about what would need to do. What is the business case for all these other stadiums? So
means if really we get an opportunity to host an AFCON, for example, if we get an opportunity to host an AFCON, that's something I can say. As I said, why not? Why not? Because if we get an opportunity, we are ready as a country. So for you to be ready, there are some requirements. So the requirements, one of the requirements is just to have more than 1 or 2 stadium. So which means instead of having all the stadium in Kigali, it's better you also think about upcountry. That's how there is a plan to have Musanze, Rubavu, as you said, Nyagatare, Gicumbi, and also Pele Stadium,
yes,
as they renovated them.
Is there any reason that Rwanda did not, because there's the next AFCON is going to be in East Africa. It's supposed to be in Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania. Why were we not part of that? Did they ask us to join? Or were we not ready? Do we have our own plans? Is there any reason that?
There's no reason.
Yeah.
There's no reason. But as you're saying, is that there's no reason saying that we were not part of that bid. But if an opportunity comes to us directly, it's something that we cannot miss or think twice for us to bid or to be part of it.
Okay. So, unlike many African countries when it comes to sports infrastructure, so national stadiums and those big projects, the government of Rwanda chose to partner with the private sector in the management of some of our national assets, our national sporting assets. The best example, I think, is the BK Arena. At that time, it was called the Kigali Arena, so it was built by government. And then government partnered with a Pan-African company called QA Venue Solutions. And now from 2020, they've been handling the management of Kigali Arena, and then they're the ones who sold the naming rights and everything that happens around that, around the stadium. Now they do the management. So government builds, QA then manages, and then QA then gives, obviously, government income, a certain amount of money. So I think, I personally thought that was very clever, because it meant that government can do the things that government is good at, and then other things of sales and marketing, and you left it to the private sector. So now we've built an even bigger, so the other time it was a 10,000 seater. Now we've built a 45,000 seater. do you think is government planning to use the same model that it did previously, which is then to ask to partner with the private sector to manage the facility? Would you like to partner with us here at the Longform? If you do, you can send an email to us at longformrwanda@gmail.com. Partner with us and become part of Rwanda's most exciting and in-depth podcast.
It's a good model that has worked. Yeah, and everyone plays his role, which means as government you invest in infrastructure because you are also targeting having hosting competitions, you are hosting big events. At the same time, you also want to work on sport developments for your athletes using the same facilities to elevate their level of competitions. And again, at the same time, you don't want government to be into the business of management because you want to bring someone who has the expertise of managing the facility and doing the marketing of that facility. At the same time, it's a win-win situation. You win, and the partner also wins because they are also making money. At the same time, government is also making money. In a certain point where making money for government, but the same money comes back into sport development. That's how the deal is. Because not only relying on the government, fully relying on government 100% to support the sport development, but you also need to think about how can I use leverage on this facility that was built by government. At the same time, I think about the return on investment, but the same return on investment I get from the management of the facility, I use it goes back to sport development. So that's why the government cannot go into that business of managing a facility. You only build the facility, you look for a third party or a partner to come and help you to well manage the facility. That's how we see the government build the arena, but the arena was a multi-purpose facility whereby you have basketball, volleyball, handball, tennis, futsal, in the same arena, but nobody was thinking about having concert inside. Hosting the concert, hosting any other event than sport event, which means that comes from an expertise, from someone who really has that expertise.
Yeah, and so is government already talking to some private sector people to manage Amahoro Stadium?
Yes, we've started talking to interested people. There are many people who are interested in managing the Amahoro Stadium and the whole facility, basically, because it's not only Amahoro Stadium, it's also Petit Stade, Paralympic, and also the outdoor courts. Yeah, we are talking with some people who are interested in it, so we are yet to come up with a deal.
And do you think, because do you think that by the time the stadium officially opens, you will have finished the negotiations?
Yes, that's our wish.
Okay, and is that the same model that you think you'll do across the country as well, or is it only for Kigali?
Exactly, it's the same model that we are going to use, especially that we have a plan of building other stadium, those 5 stadiums that are coming in future. We also have a stadium in Huye, the phase 1. We now starting very soon doing the phase 2. So it means even Huye, that one will not be managed by government. We are looking at using the same model. So that, but at least you don't have a list of people who are looking for hosting events in the stadium. But at the same time, you also want that the sport development keep growing, especially for the athletes. You also want the athletes having access to the facility, not at a very high cost. So it's a discussion that you need to have with a partner who understands the sport dynamics.
Yeah, and is this something that is open to Rwandan companies?
It's open to everyone.
Okay. Because the other one was, I thought that, you know, maybe Rwandans we're not ready to manage such big spaces.
Yeah, it's good that even Rwandan gets experience. They also get a know-how, because even in our partnership or in our agreement is that they had to use Rwandans. Yeah, to only focus on Rwandans, just for not only for the job creation, but also skill transfer. So today, when you have that facility, but today you can see now the appetite in the Rwandan market.
Okay. So this year, I think around September or so, the FIA, which is the Fédération Internationale de Automobile, will hold its General Assembly and I think award ceremony in Kigali. So maybe we shall see Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton here in Kigali. I'm very excited about that. Let me ask a question. Why has government thought beyond just holding the meeting? Why not, for example, do F1? I was looking at one of the races. So there was a race in Las Vegas. Las Vegas bid for F1, and they spent $500 million, $500 million to create the track and everything around that. But as a result, in the first year alone, they made about $1.3 billion from that one event that happened over a weekend. So sometimes when I look at Rwanda, I like to think that our government is thinking strategically the same way. You know, we invest, we're thinking long term, we invest and create value. Africa today does not have a single F1 race. I think the last time there was an F1 race was maybe in the 1980s in South Africa. So it's been over 30 years with no F1. And I know that F1 is trying to expand and maybe look at the African continent as a place where they can perhaps have an F1 race. So I'm going to ask a question. You'll forgive me. If Rwanda thinks strategically, right? We invest strategically. Rwanda wants to become a sports hub. We've seen what happens in Las Vegas. They've invested $500 million to make $1.3 billion. Is Rwanda interested in being the next home for the African Grand Prix?
If we get this opportunity as a country, definitely government of Rwanda will be interested in hosting F1. Yes.
We are?
We are so ambitious, yes, as a country. And again, over the past 2 years, only hosting the sporting event has generated almost more than USD 30 million.
Okay, just hosting.
Just hosting. So that's what has been generated. So now we got the opportunity of hosting the FIA, as you said, FIA General Assembly and the prize giving event this December 2024. So this is one of the opportunity. We also got an opportunity of hosting the UCI World Championship next year as well. And recently we've got another opportunity of hosting women basketball World Championship qualifiers. So it means basically we are, as government, we are so ambitious on hosting this kind of events, which shows that already if we've been generating this kind of revenue from only hosting events, it means why not hosting bigger events than the ones that we've hosted so far?
So is it something that government has even started thinking about? like in real detail, or are we just, are we still at the very basic phases?
Means?
Like, okay, so there is the idea of course, why not? I could even say, you know, I could say, yes, Rwanda should host the Olympic Games one day. Why not? But then it does not mean that I've started actually thinking that, okay, if I wanted to host the Olympics, this, I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this. So are we at the stage of just saying, why not? Or are we starting to think, okay, if we want to do this?
For example, like for Rwanda to host or to be given the host of the World Championship for the women basketball World Qualifiers, it's something that we started to discuss with the International Federation 2 years ago. Means what are the requirements? Requirement is having an arena, having another arena. Like now we have the Petit Stade. So which means already, as you're saying, it's not something that comes by chance. It's something that government of Rwanda plans ahead of time. So if I want to maybe to have F1 one day, why not starting maybe implementing some of the requirements today? If I want to have an AFCON, as you're saying, today we will have Amahoro Stadium, why not investing in other stadiums, like renovating other stadiums, the ones that we already have, or maybe build new stadium. So it's not something that comes by chance, it's something that strategically has been there and has been planned for.
So I guess, I'm not going to say that you said it, but it seems like Rwanda is starting to think strategically about F1. Maybe not, I'm not saying it's you who's saying it, I'm the one, because I'm trying to read between the lines of what you're telling me. And it sounds to me that we're starting to think about it at a strategic level. Maybe still trying to figure out, you know, the what I would call the nitty-gritty, but it seems that we're starting to think.
We've gained more experience by, especially in terms of organization, by hosting this kind of caliber, this kind of event, which means if you talk with international federations already, Rwanda has, how can I say it? Rwanda has a tick in terms of organization, in terms of facilities, and in terms of commitment, which means if, for example, I start discussing with you saying, what does it require for us to have a world championships, the cycling world championship? And commitment that government has, it requires infrastructure. So I will have to know, so those kind of infrastructure, how long does it take for me to get money to build the infrastructure, and how long does it take to get the expertise to build those kind of infrastructure? And then you plan for it. So the plan is there, so every time we get a chance, then we go into it. We've built the Amahoro Stadium less than 24 months. It means a lot. It means that it's possible.
No, it's very exciting, and hopefully I pray that in the next 10 years, one day, 10 years, I think it would be amazing. Imagine having an F1 in Kigali or in Rwanda. That would be, I think it would be a game changer. That would
For
be,
sure,
yeah.
for sure.
I'm excited.
Why 10 years?
I don't know. Why? I said 10 years because I was thinking that, you know, you have to find the space and you have to find the funds and you have to, but I've also learned that when it comes to government of Rwanda,
The commitment.
and sometimes things happen quickly, and hopefully, I'm saying 10 years, maybe I might be surprised, and in 5 years, things have changed and things are amazing. It's a exciting thing to think about. I think, wow, that would be something. It would really be something.
I also think that UCI can be a very good example. For example, if we are being capable of hosting such kind of big events that will bring more than 20,000
Wow.
people from abroad, especially working on the circuit, what will require in terms of infrastructure. So it means that it's possible. So we've been working on it like since 2 years ago, or basically last year. So it means that even everything is possible. That's why I said the commitment, when the commitment is there, then the implementation is also possible within a very short time.
And I think because of Rwanda's track record in doing things professionally, properly, I think even international federations have started looking at Rwanda as a serious partner.
Especially that today all the international federations, they are looking at how do they tap into Africa. So for them, they just say, okay, Rwanda is a very good example. If they hosted this in cycling, they managed to do this in volleyball, African Championship, maybe another discipline. So it means it's already a very good record for Rwanda in terms of international federation, just trusting Rwanda as a venue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So talking about that kind of global sports. So sports today is $500 billion industry, global sports. And I think that Rwanda is already starting to tap into that. You've said, for example, that we, from hosting sports competitions, we made about $30 million. Now, I want to ask you, as the Ministry of Sports, what are you doing to encourage sports teams, sports federations to tap into the entire sports value chain, thereby creating real value, not just for the teams themselves, but the entire country? Because, for example, one of the sports value chains is apparel, clothes. Manchester United makes tens of millions of dollars just from selling T-shirts. Today, if I'm looking for a Rayon Sports shirt, I don't even know where there's the official Rayon Sports clothing store to buy apparel. I cannot buy APR. I cannot buy even Patriots, or Reg Basketball Club. So there's a lot of opportunity for sports and sports federation to actually tap into the money of sports, but somehow we are failing. So as the ministry, how are you helping them make money?
First of all, looking at our history into sport industry, let's say coming from whereby our sports used to be amateur, and today transitioning from that amateur to semi-professional and to professional. So that's one of the example I can just say. Like today, hosting the event, big events, like for example in May we are having BAL. We've seen a lot of mindset change in terms of, as you're saying, in terms of community, sports community, in terms of athletes, in terms of federations. One, for example, someone playing an athlete who played, for example, for any of the clubs, the mindset used to be, I'm just playing as
for fun.
For fun. I'm just playing as an amateur. But today they are looking at how can I use this opportunity now to become a professional, to be paid just because I'm playing, not playing at the same time, having, working for a bank and play at the same time. So now only being a professional. So that's the mindset that has been changed. And again, what will be the role of the federation? How do federation understand the vision, the government of Rwanda vision in terms of sports? How do you make sure that they understand all the structure, they understand the governance? How is governance of the federation look like today, for example? So how the federation can let their clubs understand what they want to achieve until when it goes to an athlete, to a player. Yeah.
So are there practical things that, for example, are there some practical things that the Ministry of Sports does to actually upskill, maybe it's heads of federations or athletes to say, because as you said, most of them come from that amateur background where sports was just passion. So they don't even know the business of sports. So do you, for example, hold seminars? Are there a certain help that you're giving to these sports teams and sports federations to really help them understand the goal of the government?
So I'm saying the discussion around encouraging the sports sector includes one, how reminding everyone its role. What's the role of the ministry as the owner of the sport policy, and what's the role of the federation as implementer, because those federations are the implementing agencies. So what will be the role of the clubs as members of the federations, and what will be the role of the players as they're playing for their clubs? So today, if you look at the opportunities that everyone has, or the federation, or even the players, even by hosting those kind of events, let's say BAL, for example, when you look at when we started hosting BAL the first season, and you compare the first season and the third season, it's totally different.
Really?
Very different, very big improvement in terms of organization and in terms of who is organizing. The first season, there were more foreigners than the second and the third season. Purely Rwandans were able to organize in every single details, because that was the knowledge transfer, the job creation which is there. So which means everyone here needs now to understand that this is an opportunity that government of Rwanda is bringing on board. What do I do as a private sector to create a product that can be sold to that, using that platform? As you're saying today, if, for example, we have APR participating in this year's season, so as APR, you're focusing more training the players, you're focusing more making the team ready. But on the other side, what can we do now to make money? Because as APR, we are investing a lot of money in the club. We are investing a lot of money in players. We are calling players. We are having Rwanda now. We're seeing so many Rwanda now. Their life is only playing, and they get paid. So it means there is also that individual effort that we see, which used not to be there before. So and again, who sees the opportunities? The youth today can just come in and say, oh, I'm sure 100% it's only one team that will represent Rwanda during BAL. If I start making T-shirts for APR, I'm quite sure that I will get buyers. I will get the market. I have the market. I can even sell the idea to the club. Why not to the federations? So all those things shows how much the business, the sport business has really grown, especially when we started hosting this kind of events.
Okay.
Not only hosting is one thing, investing in infrastructure is another thing, making sure that our team also are ready or is ready is also another thing.
Yeah. Last question. As minister, eventually you will no longer be Minister of Sports. That's just life. So I want to ask just a question. If one day you are no longer Minister of Sports, how do you want to leave Rwandan sports or the Rwandan sports ecosystem, financially speaking? How do you, when you think about it, you're like, okay, because I know that you want to leave it in a good space. You work very hard, not for failure, but for success. So for you, how would you gauge success by when you eventually leave? How do, in a monetary sense, financially, how do you gauge success by the time you're no longer minister?
So as the ministry, it's our job to deliver in line with the overall country's overall vision, especially as the vision of our president. That you have to make sure that you really your job is to deliver in line with the president's vision. So for the next generation to come into an environment where sport now is easily accessible. That's one. Whereby you have our athletes competing at international level. Whereby our country becomes a sport hub. And what else?
So sports, an amazing sports hub, and I think maybe even in terms of job creation, is that something that you think about? Because I'm sure that the ministry has KPIs. What do they call them in Kinyarwanda? There's that Kinyarwanda word. What is it?
Imihigo.
Imihigo, yes. There you go. So when you think about because I know, for example, RDB Tourism had a Imihigo of $800 million by 2024. But then, of course, there were challenges because of COVID. Does the Ministry of Sports, which you lead, does it have a Mihigo that, by the next 5 years, this is what
Yes.
this is where we should be?
Every ministry has a Mihigo as that's why I said, as a Ministry of Sport, you have to make sure that you deliver in line with the overall vision of our country, the vision of our president. So for the future generation, you will have make sure that our athletes, because it's not only about hosting, but our athletes, they really have the opportunity or got the opportunity to be able to compete at the international level. Let's say, for example, in basketball, why not having a Rwandan playing for WNBA, playing for NBA? Why not having Rwandan 1 or 2 playing for Arsenal, playing for PSG, or maybe playing for Bayern Munich? So that's one. That's 2. And number 3, what is being done? Make sure that at the community level, at the cell level, we have infrastructure whereby every kid has access to infrastructure, not maybe at that high level, but at the community level. That's in terms of infrastructure. What kind of structure do we put in place to make sure that the grassroots sport development works well and it's smoothly from the grassroots to the elite? From the grassroots to school sports, in the sport inter-school competitions, are they happening like as on a calendar? Is that we know that every month we have a sports competition, we have a inter-school competition. Today we are having inter-college competition. So another thing is how do we strategize to have our country position itself as a sport hub? That's in terms of hosting, and again, in terms of infrastructure. do we build the infrastructure at a standard? How many infrastructure can we get and can we have in future to make sure that at least within some years, we're no longer investing in infrastructure. We only generate revenue from those infrastructures, and also we gain more in terms of hosting as well.
No, I'm very excited to see what the future brings, and I've been very excited to have you. You know, it's something that I've been requesting for a few weeks, and I thank you so much for finding time. I know you're very busy organizing all sorts of things, and for you to find time out of your very busy schedule to grace me with your presence is a blessing, and it's not something I take for granted. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sanny. It was also a pleasure being here with you today and sharing some kind of plan for the Ministry of Sport and the future of our sports.
And maybe next time we can talk about sports development and really get into and youth sports and what we need to do around that. I think
Feel free anytime.
Thank you so much.
Thank you too.
If you enjoyed the conversation today, share your thoughts with us on our social media platforms. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok.